Yeah, we'll resize for next week. All right,
Yeah.
so we're live. We're already live.
Excellent.
I hit the stream because I know we already know what's going on, right?
What are we here for? What?
I don't. Well, for several things. I mean, but hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Reviews, Smirking Gun Reviews, whatever you want to call me, however you remember me. Same as my co-host here, as always. You can call him whatever you want, as far as is it, D's reviews, Darren Jakes, that guy on everybody else's channel. Uh, Thanks for being here again. It's been a crazy week, and we're finally here talking Penguin. And
Oh, I know. And we just saw each other on Saturday, but we got to see the show immediately afterwards. And I was like, "And we got to wait how many more days before we jump on?"
hey, if you ever want to go earlier, just let me know.
We may have to in some of the upcoming, but for right now, and also, but it gives me time to digest. And this was definitely an episode to spend time and digest.
Oh yeah, there's like tons of stuff that I didn't even take notes the first time. I started to take notes the first time, and I stopped and said, "No, just watch it this time."
Yeah.
And I took notes like about an hour ago when I rewatched it. But up top, I don't know how far along you are in Vox Machina. Uh, I will not spoil anything from 7, 8, or 9. But it was a
Well, I was going to try and jump in and catch up and didn't realize they were dropping like 3 episodes a week. So I'm like way behind at this point.
don't read the title, the synopses.
Oh yeah, I generally avoid that. I like to just go right in on that stuff.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
big stuff happened this week, and for anybody out there who loves the actual game from that they played from campaign 1, and you saw all the massive changes that happened this week on their actual I'm gonna call it like the companion piece to the game. Like, it's another one of those things where I fear like people will be like, oh, this ruined the whole thing for me, like, and it's like, no, just remember, this is their interpretation of their own thing. So they get to choose how they do it. I didn't necessarily, no, I didn't agree with some of the things they did this week as just a fan of character. I felt like there was kind of like a little bit of a letdown, and there can be tons of reasons for the choices they made this week. Could be they were rushed. I mean, they're really busy people. Like, they maybe, I don't know. There were some things that didn't make sense, some things I didn't like. And anybody out there that's feeling the emotions that came from these 3 episodes, there's some heavy, heavy emotions. And if you don't know the show, then you're probably feeling even more heavy emotions because, like, if all you know is the animated series, dang, are they punching you in the face? Um, Even more so, like, it's an emotional roller coaster when they play the game, when you listen to the game. But this week, they really hit everybody. So everybody, like, if I'm probably gonna make a episode or season 2 video when it's all over to talk about the whole thing as a whole, and that way it gives everybody a chance to watch the whole thing. Because I don't really think it's necessary to do episode to episode stuff on 20-minute cartoons, really, except for maybe Batman the Animated Series or something like that. But that's my thoughts for Vox Machina this week. Heavy, heavy stuff. I don't even know, like, now that they made these great big changes, I don't know what they're going to do. I like that, but since I didn't like some of those choices, now I'm kind of like a little bit more like, eh. But I'm excited to see what they plan on doing for the last 3 episodes of the season. And will it be the end of Vox Machina, or will there be a season 4? I don't know. It kind of feels like they're speeding towards the end, but with their comic book series Vox Machina Origins, there's also room for prequel stuff. So there's that, and then I am all caught up on Agatha Harkness too, the Agatha All Along show.
Oh yeah. Watch that this morning to
Okay,
catch up.
how are you? Like, what do you think of that? The,
Um I mean, it's kind of a night and day difference between that comic book property
Yeah.
and the Penguin.
Yeah.
I
I feel
honestly,
like it has a tonal problem.
no, I'm just part of it. Me is me just acknowledging, this may just not be made for me.
Yeah.
They're aiming for a different audience. I mean, I thought of it very much as like, a Disney Channel Halloween special. I explained that to Mark and Alyssa over on Alyssa G's Reviews and Enchantment of Eternity. And they looked at me like I was crazy, like, well, I don't think it's really made for kids. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of LGBT stuff in there, but I don't know. I don't see that as necessarily not for kids. I think the scares and all that are kind of kid level, but I was also raised in the time of like The Dark Crystal and the original Gremlins, which we all thought was a funny kids movie. And if you watch it now, you're like, oh, that's a messed up film, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I just
you're just trained on different things.
I think it's sometimes I'm really liking it and sometimes I'm just like going what.
I didn't really like this week's twist because I'm like, come on, can't we find like new directions to go in, or are we just going to be rehashing the same stuff? On the other hand, the cameo of the guy in again, trying not to give out spoilers to people who haven't seen it, the guy in the underground who they meet up with to get the information from, I thought that was beautiful, but I also love that whole reference and storyline in WandaVision. So
yeah, it's one of those like, do I care where it's going?
Not really.
Like I'm finding myself like the likable characters like are dying, and it's just I don't know. I feel like it's continuing on. If Wanda's dead, why are we still doing this? Other than to like, I thought that again, this is Agatha Harkness, and then now it's going to completely shift over in people's minds as a Young Avengers,
yes,
kind of thing. And it's like, if you don't want to do, like, I thought we were I kind of hoped we were done with Billy and Tommy personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
They got unmagicked, and I feel like if there's any kind of consequence to Wanda, it's that you lost the thing you created, because look what you did to all these people to make it. You don't get to be rewarded because we all feel bad for mothers who lose their kids. These are made up children.
Yeah.
Who exist in her head. Psychologically, she's got a lot wrong with her. So when they disappeared, I didn't care whether it was a supernatural thing or a magical thing or whatever. So when they bring them back, it just felt like, okay, I should have seen this. I honestly should have seen this coming. And because I was satisfied that they were gone, I just kind of let my guard down. And I know.
Well, and cruel to take out somebody else to bring that character in. Like, right? Oh, come on, man.
Right? This kid that had everything going for him, and now he's got, like, I'm sure they'll do some. I don't even know why I'm talking, but I just wanted to get some of that stuff out of the way for fans who are asking me to talk more about other stuff too. So let's get into Sentient. I can't do this. The word Centani means 100 years. Basically, it's like a toast, meaning hurrah to the next 100 years. Fantastic episode again. It's not, again, people want to talk about how things degrade with time. This thing just keeps getting more and more momentum. We're at the top of the hill, and now we're going to start going down the roller coasters when this is when the ride really starts.
Oh, yeah.
We're building and building and building all the relationships. We've made it to the top, and now it's time to start pulling that car at full blast down the hill and up to do some loop-de-loops and spins. And again, this was a great way of showing, like I said in the thumbnail, like how you make a villain. But it's not just me saying DC, yeah, look at this. This is how you make a villain. See how everybody can pay attention to this. That's not really what I'm saying. Just because, like, some companies are spend more time on the hero's journey than the villain's journey. DC kind of has like a big part of their identity, I feel like, is their villains as much as their heroes. And they do spend, I think they're more important in a lot of ways than like than Marvels per se. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying that the Marvel heroes, we've said this before, to me feel more like obstacles to climb. And if these days, I think it's a newer thing in the last, since I've been reading comics for like 40 years, I'd say that I've been paying more attention to villain arcs in the last 10 to 15 years. And I think it's been getting more, as more people want to say, where do these villains come from? Or when you've been out for like 100 years, what do you do with these characters if not try to sometimes rehabilitate them, make them anti-heroes, make them heroes flat out, explain their villainry, take their villainry to another levels, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, as we've gotten older, both, as individuals and kind of as audience members as well, in the sense of as how audience views have become more sophisticated over the years, we've outgrown the mustache twirling villain who was evil for evil's sake, to try and find something that has more of a character, more of a relatability, something you can kind of like mash your teeth into a little bit more, something you could chew on a little bit more. And I think, to me, this is not even so much of a Marvel versus DC or anything. This is a filmmaking decision.
Yes.
I do not often watch them. I just happen to catch the after episode special that's on the HBO streaming, where they go and talk about the episode. And if there's ever one to watch, it is this one, because it tells you exactly why this show is of the quality that it is, and has the impact that it does, because it is formulated to take you on an emotional journey, from the lighting choices that they make at the beginning, being it all bright and shiny, and this is Sophia in the real world. And as things start to close in, it gets darker. Then when she gets arrested, they switch more to handheld cameras, so you feel the chaos in it. Then when she gets to Arkham, they're purposely zooming in and doing shit. They make so many conscious choices in order to craft the journey that we as the audience going through this episode. This is what makes a show so very good, is when you can find something that has the meat on it, where you can actually do this. And this is where a lot of other storytelling factories have been lacking. They want to move the plot and get the big stuff forward, and they don't realize that film is an emotional journey for us as the audience. And they pulled out all the stops in order to make that as impactful as possible.
Yeah. And as I said, that I didn't really mean it in that way of how to make a villain and do any of the comparisons or whatever. To me, this show was showing us how we, all of us, can make somebody like this. We saw the deconstruction of somebody, the destruction of a person, completely just broken down in really fast succession, of how somebody goes from being like, in a crime family and try to make the best of it and to be a halfway decent person. She was making the best of it, and we don't choose our parents mostly, unless, like, orphans might have more of a choice. I don't know how that works. Adopted kids, I don't know how that works. So if they get to a certain age, do you get to choose? I don't know. But like, we don't normally get to choose our relatives. And so she's making the best of it, but we see how somebody's completely broken down, completely gaslit by everyone around them, made to feel like you're crazy, talking, showing how power can just make things happen, and how people can just be written off, disappeared. The system can be manipulated, and that's, you get people that go into jail innocent or mostly crime free and come out worse. And
man, it's college.
Yeah.
It's criminal college is what prison is. This is where you get your high advanced degrees.
I want to quickly bring up Rena in the chat and Bill Casey. Rena, welcome back to the chat. I know you've been having all those problems down there in Carolina, and so good to see you here. Glad you just started the show. It is well crafted. Yes. And Bill talking about an utter failure of the system. Yeah. How people can just get, how can this happen? It's happened. And another thing is, and I maybe I shouldn't, I don't know, talk about this, whatever, but it brings up like the history to me of how women have been treated in the mental health world for decades, centuries, really. But like, I mean, because we can go back real far and show how bad things were for anybody who was looking for mental health treatment. But, let's go back like within the last 100 or so years, and the women being railroaded into mental institutions for the smallest of things is still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's less than now. Hopefully it's less than now. I mean, I think about Arkham Asylum itself and I go, I mean, I almost feel like, is Arkham Asylum maybe too dated at this point to reference as the place that people go to now? But there's got to be some places that are kind of Arkham-y still running out there that I don't know all the little areas of this country, the corners of the world where people can still disappear into these kind of places.
Oh, I am sure there are definitely corners of this country where you could definitely still disappear someone like this. And sadly, it's the almost what's old is new again. The way things are going. Maybe coming back into style. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a terrifying thing to have to think about, and then to see it happen to someone, especially from your own family member. So we might as well really get into the episode proper, because we talked about how we didn't know what happened at the end of the episode's conversation.
Right.
Now, it was kind of disappointing that their trust was already getting blown up. But having now this time to think about it, having rewatched this newest episode twice, I feel like there was really only one way that this was going to go. It had to be almost completely change your mind. And in this minute of you looking at me completely differently is when everything shatters.
Yeah.
And all three parties now know like it's a war against all of them. So you got Shohreh Aghdashloo. I looked it up.
Nice.
So Shohreh Aghdashloo shows up from the Maronis, exposing everything that, to her about him. He's got nowhere to go. He's the second party. Now he's going to have to figure out. Now she's the new Falcones. We don't know that she's going to be the new Falcones yet, but she's about to be. And so you got the three warring parties right here. Everything had to explode like this. There's not time. And I don't mean just episodes. It has to be Maroni's, like it's got to be, how do you get to just Sophia and Oz until you get rid of the Maroni situation, which means we're going to see some interesting stuff going on with Clancy Brown, hopefully. Are we going to get like a, I don't know, prison shanking situation going on out of Breaking Bad here? I don't know. But that was intense. At least that to me explains stuff. Where she ended up in the alley, calling Julian of all, was an interesting choice.
Sure, only person that she could trust in that moment. Yeah.
And then we get our big boom into into the past that leads us back to the present. And I really thought, like I said, we see this person who is just so bright and shiny in a dark place. helping women with the help of her dad, being the up and comer. The now we find out was going to be the heir apparent to their whole situation. And Deborah, hi, how you doing? Um, and just how she makes one one mistake here, and I mean, they did a really good job at making it still make sense, even though I was like going, well, the only thing she shouldn't have done is talking about it, further. Like, instead of like, okay, I know this is what's going on. I have to figure out how to work my dad from the shadows rather than confront him right out front. But that's whatever. Fantastic scene though, at like the table with we understand more about the brother and how the dad sees him and how he sees her. And Mark Strong, I swear, it was like he was doing a John Turturro impersonation, because I was like seeing both of them. Like, as I'm watching the performance, it was kind of such a similar portrayal, but I don't see that as like a bad thing at all.
No, I think Mark actually found an interesting way of doing Carmine Falcone without doing John Turturro, which is why I think they look similar, but just different enough, because he's not doing an impersonation of Turturro. He is finding what Turturro found in Carmine and pulling off of that as well. So it gives a similarity where you go, okay, I could see, well, this is a version of the same character without feeling like it's, again, just some sort of cheap, copying of circumstance and stuff. I think he just does like a couple of pauses kind of perfectly, like, what happened to you? Darling, that kind of like, oh, just kind of perfect bit that really sunk it in. So, no, it was terrifying, but it made sense too, because it's, what is Sophia except his basically the younger version of his wife, and now being confronted with his own crimes. His only solution is to bury that, and it's interesting how you can also see even where Oz's move in this comes as well, because his betrayal of her is caused by the same thing that always pushes Oz over the edge. When she dismissed him, when they got back in the car, it's like, Oz, you're just a driver, just drive. That nobody wants to hear from you. Oh, well, I guess I'll go tell my boss what's going on, since obviously this is all that I am to you. And you could see that he stepped up because he had the suit on and he was in the house suddenly, when he's probably just the driver, just always in the car. So automatically a very swift, easy way of showing he has already moved up because of this particular move.
Real quick, Agdashlu is going to be in the next season of Wheel of Time. That's cool. She's getting around.
Yes, but will she say motherfucker?
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
What I want to know. It's not Christian unless, yeah.
So, all right. People.
Sorry, I jumped around a little bit there.
No, man, no. It's that absolute, like, you think you should be able to, like, she thinks she's safe. You know what I mean? And usually in these situations you are safe, but it just shows, like, to me, a lot of this is revealing Carmine's psychosis and what he thinks of women and what he thinks of any woman. Her, I kind of almost feel like, is the surrogate for the mother. Like, the way he talks to her, it's not romantic or anything like that, but it feels like she's his, like, I'm sure that his wife was kind of a confidant.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew her place for a while, but then maybe she found out, who knows like what went down, but like we see more about his psychology and what he was willing to do to protect himself, and the fear that he was able to instill in everyone else. Um, and I'm not 100% convinced, and it's one of those things that I think they're just going to leave out there. But they make it sound like the brother was completely like on her side, but we don't know. Like he could have just been like being the partier and stuff, and not really wanting daddy's attention, nor wanting daddy to cut him off. He might not have like betrayed her, but he also didn't do anything but step aside while he let other people could take the fall, and he could say, well, I didn't sign it, probably because David never asked him to, because it would just give her something, except her dad loved to see the hope die in her. Another cool thing about like her whole setup was that, as much as people are talking about Magpie, who is like this character that I only knew by name, I had to relook her up and go, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, my brain was like, oh, she's from something there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the big like stupid and I didn't fall for any of the clickbait stuff, but it's all like they're reintroducing a Batman just to get you to read their stupid thing. And it was like, this is who we're talking about. And I'm glad that it was just this, right? I was afraid it was going to be a big thing. So I'm glad it was just this, but I was actually more excited when they introduced the animated series version, Summer Gleason.
Yeah, that's the one I was like, wow, they took her out pretty quick.
Yeah, and I talked about this with somebody last night. I was like, man, like, did they really need to? I mean, I get it. Carmine was silencing the reporter, but I was like that's really fast for taking out, like, but it was nice that it brought her in the first place. Shows that she was a good reporter,
Yeah.
And that she was into something, and she unfortunately died for it. I mean, I don't know. I thought that there was more dramatically they could have done with it, like as far as like when she got out and she could have confronted Summer Gleason, and Gleason could have been like saying, look, they were going to kill me.
Sure, but
everything, and they said the only reason they didn't kill me is because they didn't want even more heat. Like maybe she stepped out and said like, yes, I met her and she made me think that she was the killer too, something like that. But
yeah, I think this is just expediency.
Show. Yeah, it's an expensive show, and we don't need like C plots going on and things like that. Like I said, I'm just happy to see characters like this get introduced that are pretty much not even thought about even in their own thing, other than if you've watched the animated series enough, you've seen Summer Gleason pop up all the time on the news broadcasts or whatever. It's just a nice little nod to all of us real dorky hardcore
nerds. That's exactly it. It's for those of us that was like, cool.
Speaking of like what Oz did, like, and why he did it, I still don't think that he thought that his dad, I don't think he was in on the cops situation after.
Oh no, not at all.
I think that he saw his move, he reacted with his own like, how dare you, but what's the worst that could happen, right? I'm sure he didn't tell Oz what his plans were going to be or any of that.
Well, he certainly didn't know that Carmine was the actual killer here, and thus this would be an issue. This would be more like, look, yeah, she's talking to this reporter. I know you said not to talk to reporters. I don't think they really said anything, but I need to give you a heads up. That's just him getting his way in, not thinking that it was going to go probably, like you said, far at all.
Yeah, I mean, when they pulled her out and they were holding him back, he really would have like done something if he thought he could. But that's not to excuse it either, because in the end, when she says, why didn't you just talk to me? And it speaks to his problem. Like, instead of, if she said something to him that upset him, he should have like he could have chosen to say, "Hey, I didn't really appreciate that. I'm sorry that this is difficult, but please, blah blah blah." But then, you kill the drama. You don't move the story along. People doing the right things isn't. Every once in a while, though, somebody will write in like something that a normal person would do, which is, "Oh God, I'm sorry." Like,
well,
I
but I
didn't
mean,
mean it.
again, I think that underlines both the relationship and the volatility of this world. I mean, like I said, I think he told Carmine after that meet at night when she says to him, Oz, just shut up. You're just a driver. Nobody cares what you think. You're not anything. She put him in his place. And that might have been not her really thinking it through, but it just happened to be the vulnerable time where he was like, well, if I don't matter, then you're right. I should just tell Carmine so nobody gets in trouble. And, this way I'm looking out for you because I don't want this to go any further. He can come up with this stuff, but yeah, he's not going to talk back because she just insulted him. And that's always the push that pushes Penguin over the edge when you disrespect him like that.
Yeah. And yeah, they both made the same basic mistake, and it's very human.
Oh, totally.
How many people that I know that I could have a better relationship with if I just got like not scared to like say, "Hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but blah blah blah." Like there's a lot of like we leave a lot of like spaces that don't really need to be empty with each other because of these things, and it's at least believable that these kind of things happen. Friends hurt each other's feelings all the time without even really thinking about it because of moments of like when somebody puts you on the spot for real, what do you do?
Yeah. And I'm kind of notorious about that. I mean, I have my good friends, but I will let something go and not even thinking about it, but just sort of let it sit in darkness because we're not communicating. And then that time passes and suddenly I realize, it's been a decade and I'm like, why the fuck haven't I just reached out? Now I feel weird if I do that. And then it just sits like
then
that.
it has to be addressed, the thing that you're doing, and it's
exactly.
We
don't want that.
And it's usually those kind of things like that. And it's
emotional vulnerability.
But
never.
But it still means it's never dealt with.
Yeah.
I love our conversations. Another person, and this is nothing, I'm sure, but they also bring up that the guy's name is Dr. Ventress. In the comics, there's a Ventress that goes to gets convicted. It goes to Arkham Asylum and becomes Mirror Man. I don't think that this is the same guy. Clearly, he's the doctor and not a patient, but it might be a nod to Mirror Man. I don't know, but it's still a cool, like, I like making little connections just for Easter egg value, not for telling people this guy's Mirror Man, everybody. Because if they were going to make a Mirror Man, it would be like anytime they make a villain, right? It's got to be a known actor, not some guy who's been on like a character actor for like 1,000 shows for one episode at a time.
I think you're missing the clear reference to Dr. Venture from the Venture Brothers.
Oh, okay. Now we're really
yeah. It's the dark side of Dr. Venture. This is before you made a switch to good. Yeah.
So the hospital stuff. Man.
And again, they're so beautifully done. They switched to handheld at this point, and through all these scenes, we get these close up. The lighting is shifted to be so much starker. Everything is the contrast is kind of turned up, and everything feels so much more unstable.
The invasiveness of everything that you feel.
The extras they got for the cafeteria scenes and such and everything were all just I mean, that room felt uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, when you're innocent too, and you're just suddenly thrust into this world, and as silly as it is, and it was as brief as it was, my parents did this. There was like a misunderstanding a long time ago. My parents tried to do a Scared Straight thing that wasn't necessary.
Sure.
and they sent me to like hang out with this lawyer friend of theirs who took me up to Juvie Hall, and they decided to put me in with the gen pop like of these kids. And yeah, I have a great family. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, sorry, were you introduced to trauma? Here you go.
Yeah, and just being around like that, it's so true. It's like fresh fish. It doesn't even make sense. You should be like, hey man, come on, like let's all hug. We're all in this shit together. Instead, it's like this. It's weird. It's like pack mentality of like I have to prove I'm not weak, so I have to attack the person that just came in. It's messed up. But they did get like it did look like Arkham Asylum should look. It looked a lot like the Gotham Arkham Asylum a little bit. When that girl was rolling up without the chains on, man, I was like, you know what I was thinking? Zombie.
Oh, sure.
I was thinking, why she's like looking at her like she's like newly, freshly undead. It was so creepy. And like to have someone like, what do? You are afraid to move because you're in chains. There's guys with guns, so you don't want to make any furtive moves that would make them point those guns at you. And yet, no one's doing anything about Frankenstein coming over here to do whatever. And all you can do is say, she's not chained. She's not chained. Like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, gaslighting is an undercurrent throughout this whole episode.
Yeah.
And these are exactly the same thing. It's like, look, is nobody else seeing what I am seeing? Because I'm not crazy, but you all are assuming that I am crazy. And if she say to Rush later on, how am I supposed to convince you that I'm innocent if you've already made up your mind? Or that I'm sane if you've already made up your mind about me?
Forcing her to fight, forcing her to defend herself, and like in the end, when she kills, I'm assuming she kills Magpie.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, and that's when she's like, I tell you I'm fucking innocent. Like, she gave them everything she needed, and they put her there. They broke her down. They got the right thing they wanted out of her, because I mean, like it was like, to them though, they are probably thinking this is mercy. You know,
well, I mean, they're crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, who's the crazy person here? It's the people running the show.
Well, and it's great because, again, that underlying sense of even more craziness, the gaslighting and such, is that level of unjustness that's happening here, and relies back to even what Penguin was saying to Victor last week when he's talking about his dad, like, earn an honest living that should make you right, but it doesn't. In this world, this is what it's all about. And this is showing the same thing. Hey, you know what, Sophia? You're a good girl. You did the right thing. You didn't really betray anyone. You walked away and you didn't say anything, but you know what? You are being punished anyway for something that you didn't do. And we're going to show you how helpless you are and how hopeless your situation is, because there's nothing you do. Your lawyer's not actually there to defend you. The system has already decided your stuff. They're going to treat you crazy, so you can't convince them you're sane. And by the way, your doctor is probably doing their own, like, how far can we push people and make them crazy? Did you notice on her little electroshock thing, it's like person, and then it gets like bigger forms and it's like monster at the end? Like, what the heck is going on in this place where the doctor is like handing you the knife, seeing you, watching to make you kill this other person for just, you're in crazy land and you did nothing wrong to put you there. So how else are you going to survive but by going crazy?
Yeah, I mean, once she found out that there was no trial,
yeah,
they've disappeared you. So you got to, and I, somebody made the point, and we've made the point before, and it's like, a lot of times these shows they're really just showing us exactly where they're going all the time. It's never as complicated as we make it. But I don't think that I feel like that Julian guy is going to be like the last person to betray her. I don't mean he's going to I'm not saying he'd be the last one to betray her. He's got her back. No, I mean like he's just going to be like that last person that's going to still betray her, because I just don't buy his shtick of this is all altruistic because I feel bad. But Simplicity says he is exactly that. It's just weird that it's that actor.
Sure. I know you're expecting more.
I don't expect him to suddenly roll up on a motorcycle and or anything like that. I just mean like I feel like with the therapy and everything, something's going to happen where either she'll misconstrue something in therapy, or she's going to find out he really is like more connected to the family than she knows, or something else, that she doesn't know. Or will he get used against her by Oz or somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was in the house, so I don't think he was killed. So I'm sure that we will see him again.
Oh yeah, she wouldn't have killed him.
But I do think at that point when she wakes up and she kind of just before she goes back home and she has that little face-off discussion with him, I think that is her kind of being like, all of you suck. All of you want something and aren't telling me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
He may try something to come in, which would be an interesting thing if we get the lights and some sort of other Arkham insight. Again, who knows where they're going with all this at all times. But I think that in fact was his kind of last bit. And he's just like, maybe you should go. And I've got breakfast and everything's all right. She's just like, you don't get it. You got your own, I'm done with all of you. Yeah. I really think that was kind of the point. He just didn't die because, he's got to wait a little while longer, just like Johnny Vitti does.
Yeah. So, yeah, we might as well get to that. The last dinner. She gets out. And this was a tense scene because I really was like, I'm trained to wait for the thing that's going to be the thing. Like, what's going to be the thing? Like, I felt very Tarantino-y. Like,
oh, yeah.
Sitting around the table waiting for, did she poison the food? Are there going to be men who silently just swoop up behind all these guys, and say, it's time to get up, like up from the table? Or is she just going to do something even wilder, pull out 2 machine guns and just, I knew that the kid was going to be out of the room, though. I knew that whatever happened in the scene, the kid wasn't going to be present for all of it. But again, a great performance from her, putting everybody in their place, but being so polite about it. To just because she knows where this is all going. They don't. And I kept waiting for someone to try and stop her. But I feel like even in this moment, they were kind of scared about what might happen individually for each of them.
Well, yeah, you are expecting that big moment, and she's there and she's dressed up and she's got the whole makeup and dress and everything. And you're because we're programmed like to have this big scene, which makes it in some ways what would be anticlimactic, except again, the joy is in seeing her dance in the aftermath is that moment. It's a totally unexpected way to give you that exact same joy. Yes, she's, because it is. She goes and she has that cigarette in Johnny Vitti's room and leaves the window open just that little bit. And I'm thinking, oh, that's her room? Is that where she's sleeping? Again, you're not entirely sure, which is, I love how they've kind of kept up in the air. Like, where is, okay.
They're all still trying to figure out what to do Well, she's just
yeah, and they give you that wonderful creepy scene with the daughter there, which is just kind of perfect in that it's so nice and innocent, but you know something is up here. There's a reason why we're out. You're waiting for, is she going to betray her? Is she going to be something? How's her revenge going to come out? They play with that emotion all very nicely. But at least we understand why she was so mad at Carla, because she, like everybody else in the family, signed those damn letters saying she was crazy.
And it's also just we sympathize with her, but we also see that like now she's straight up like, because she kills that child's mother.
Oh yeah,
like you just said, she signed it too. So it's like she took her down there, she protected her, but in her warped way, like when she says, I'm going to make sure that you never have to fight monsters again. That's supervillain stuff.
Oh, because her family are the monsters.
Yeah, but it's also speaking towards like a bigger, like what she wants to accomplish. Like, because I think her whole thing is going to be like in her head, protecting the like women, especially. And how will she do that? Well, I don't know. She's got a
poison
drug. She's got a potent drug, and she's smart. But this is that moment. Yeah, she walks that little girl out and she saves her life, but she's ruined her life too. She's absolutely ruined her life, and that's the part she doesn't understand. That's how broken now she is. She's not thinking about how she's created like a possible villain in killing her mother.
Sure. Well, it's always the collateral damage around us that ends up biting us in the butt.
Yep. What is it Tony Stark says in Iron Man 3? He's like, we make our own demons.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of the classic thing anyway, is, the hero creates their villain, and that, they're all your problem is of your own and cause.
Perspectives and stuff, like, Joker thinks Batman dropped him in the vat of acid instead of like, no, you fell. Now, like, or he lost his grip, or at least we're talking Batman 89, right? Like, in his mind, he should have saved him, but he didn't, and so now we're enemies, or I'm enemies of everyone.
See, it's blaming everybody else for your problems,
for your choices. But then I kind of expected the house to be on fire, but because I love just the sunrise. And then to just see the gas mask.
She's just skipping through the hallways.
Yeah, seeing all the damage. And then I'm going, where's Johnny Vitti? Where's Johnny Vitti? And when she grabbed the gun, I was like, oh, she's going to really take him down. Like she saved him for last, which would have been really appropriate. And it would have been satisfying. But then you see the window, like when you know that the window's open and she purposely left it open and she wants him alive, that means that she can now torture this guy.
Oh, yeah.
She can, and I shouldn't be going like, yay, but like, Johnny Vitti's a terrible person. So it's like, just.
Again, it's not a takeover, it's a corporate restructuring.
Bad to other bad guys. And so her telling him like, but the way that the lights behind her and shining like she's a hero, almost like we've got stuff to do. Like she's reborn as this, whatever. I don't even know I don't know if Sophia Falcone ever had a villain name. But we know she's not the Hangman.
Yeah.
But where they're going to go with this, it's all out war. I know that it's going to be dealing with how to get rid of the Maronis. Oz is going to be trying to get rid of the Maronis. Everybody's trying to get rid of each other now. But I'm really curious of how, like, I already know how Penguin operates, and the Maronis are just your token other mafia family that we're, it's cool that we've got, Avasarala and Clancy Brown, Guard Hadley.
Oh no, this is definitely a Penguin versus Sophia, with the
Yeah.
Maronis as simply being the third wheel, like, conflict, problem they both have to deal with.
It's just nice that our third party is played by actors we both really like. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, again, it's like this is all beautiful stuff. You can have Clancy Brown and Avasarala. I'm sorry, I'm just going to call her that. Thank you. Just talking to each other about their plans, and I will eat that scene up. I will sit there with a big bowl of popcorn going, yeah, talk some more. You guys are just, you're making the scene.
Lex Luthor and Avasarala having a conversation. Close your eyes.
Oh, I know.
Close your eyes and imagine Lex and her,
It's perfect.
Well,
you know, it's kind of interesting because in some ways, Sophia is just taking what should be hers anyway.
Yeah.
But considering the way that females were still viewed in the family up until, just before she murdered them all, I'm really wondering what her dad was thinking, what Carmine was thinking in that sense of saying, this is going to be yours, because that would seem to really upset stuff. And also, is he more upset with her that she's not believing him or facing him up for his crimes, or that she's bothered by it? Like, you're not going to be any good being a head of the family if this is making you squeamish and worried anyway. It's kind of interesting, the fact that she was being like set up to be the next heir with already having so much stuff stacked against her.
Well, I think that the whole, like, this is how deep, like, he wants to live long enough to escape all of this. Right?
Right.
So he's managed to get past all of this. And so to him, giving her the power, it does not matter to him. He's like a regular ass politician who just sees the opportunity, and it'll be the thing that helps him. He won't care after he can wash his hands of it. He's the guy that somebody will go to, like, well, boss, what about this? He's like, I'm not the boss anymore. She is. I'm going to just duck out of all this and be the person who can just do it. He's just passing the buck again.
That she just gets to be the front while he does everything in the back, and she makes it look all legitimate. Okay, I could see that.
He doesn't really care. Like, it disappoints him now because it's just this big whole plan. It was like to keep her in line too. Like, as long as I suspect, because in his reptile brain, that there's part of him that goes, does she know? Does she know? And we lived this long and she's been so good. I'm going to reward her with this because it's still, I need her to not expose me.
And he could even believe in an unspoken lie between them. Like, she knows and is okay with that. And we can just move on, that this isn't going to be a problem. Yeah, I can see that also. All right.
So that's pretty much what I've got. I don't know if you've got anything else for this.
No, I'm just really excited where we're going now, because again, the one thing that we're doing is, like, say, even kicking off this episode, you're thinking, all right, yeah, they're going to get together, and are Sophia and Penguin going to figure out what the next step of this bliss trade is? No, the Maronis come in and screw that up. That's Gotham. That's the show. You have your plans, then your plans get all fucked up, and now you have to adjust your plans with the new reality. You're opening it up to Sophia one moment, now you're opening it up to old lady Maroni the next, because now she's the one with the gun to your head, and you've got to be like, oh no, it's all for you, even though you're still planning, hey, I got to take both of those people out anyway, so if they do it first before I do, then I have only one left to worry about. Sophia's going to have plans, Maroni's are going to have plans, Oz is going to have plans, and those are constantly going to shift. And that's why, in some ways, making the prediction to where they're going to go next, I don't know, because they're keeping this very, very chaotic and very kinetic. Things are constantly moving and shifting.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So that's pretty much it. We've got this streamlined. We were able to talk about this, Vox Machina, Agatha, all along, all in one video. We've learned how to pronounce Shohreh Aghdashloo's name. We're educating all
one of us has.
Yeah. I'm just saying it like I'm bragging almost at this point. But no, I'm just excited to see what's going to happen in episode 5. And a lot of people have brought this up online. Is this doesn't even feel like I feel like I've been watching this for a lot longer than 4 weeks.
Yeah,
there's so much going on, and there's so much character development and growth, and that's what makes good shows, folks. If your show is just about boom boom kablooey, great. But shows like this, man, they can just be so dense and rich, not 30 minutes long.
With intros and outros, this is a good hour.
There was almost 7 minutes of credits at the end of this week's Agatha.
Oh, yeah. You could always take that timeline and cut 10 minutes off of it to cut out the credits, the intros, and the previously on. And yeah, so whatever they're like 40 minutes, I'm like, that's a half-hour episode. 37 minutes, that's a 25-minute episode.
Yep. They're full of it. They're full of it. I still call them chopped up movies. It's the way that they did Agatha this week. It was just they had the beginning stuff, right, of just all the flashback stuff. But the way that they cut back to the fun on the dark yellow brick road or whatever, it was just straight out of it's still the same thing. Anyway, I didn't want to end on a negative, because this show is not like that. This show starts and then has a great intro, the cold open to where they throw in the Penguin logo. Everything from the music, production, acting is all set up well, and we know that, boom, this is the end of the Sophia in hospital backstory episode, the show where we're going to jump off for the next of it. That's how you make a show, so that when next week we don't know where we're going to start. We know we're not going to start at the next scene. We're going to start at the first scene of the next episode, not a continuation of some ongoing movie that was chopped up. So we will see you next week, tentatively Thursday at 8 p.m. as usual, unless for some reason, if Darren says we're going early, be ready Tuesday or something, I can be ready Tuesday. So I'll leave that up to you, man. If you say hey man, I really want to talk about this a day or two earlier, you just got to let me know.
Okay, will do. Keep an eye on the socials.
We'll let you guys know too out there in TV land.
This is why you want to like and subscribe here, so you and hit the notifications bell, so that when you're notified of when this new episode's going to drop, it'll drop right in your feed. You won't miss it.
Yep. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying the Penguin reviews that we're doing here on the channel. I'm enjoying talking about them. They're getting easier and easier to do. And that's a good thing, because that means I get more motivated to make more stuff. So thanks, Darren, for making it easy for me. And we will see you all on the next video.
Yeah. Bye, y'all.